So we read the next para. No?
Shall I read?
Yes, please.
For while the reason proceeds from moment to moment of time and loses and acquires and again loses and again acquires, the gnosis dominates time in a one view and perpetual power of link past, present, and future in their indivisible connections in a single continuous map of knowledge side by side. The gnosis starts from the totality which it immediately possesses. It sees parts, groups, and details only in relation to the totality and in one vision with it. The mental region cannot really see the totality at all and does not know fully any whole except by starting from an analysis and synthesis of its parts, masses, and details. Otherwise, its whole view is always a vague apprehension or an imperfect comprehension or a confused summary of indistinct features. The reason deals with constituents and processes and properties. It tries in vain to form by them an idea of the thing in itself, its reality, its essence. But the gnosis sees the things in itself first, penetrates to its original and eternal nature, adjoins its process and properties only as a self-expression of its nature. The reason dwells in the diversity and is its prisoner. It it deals with the things separately and treats each as a separate as it deals with sections of time and divisions of space. It sees unity only in a sum or by elimination of diversity or as a general conception and a vacant figure. But the gnosis dwells in the unity and known by its all the nature of the diversities. It starts from the unity and sees diversities only of a unity, not diversity constituting the one, but a unity constituting its own multitudes. The Gnostic knowledge, the Gnostic sense does not recognize any real division. It does not treat things separately as if they were independent of the true and original oneness. The reason deals with the finite and is helpless before the infinite. It can conceive of its an indefinite extension in which the finite act, but the infinite in itself, it can with difficulty conceive and cannot at all grasp or penetrate. But the gnosis is sees and lives in the infinite. It starts always from the infinite and knows it finite things only in the relation to the infinite and in the sense of the infinite.
So we still have about 5, 6, 7 minutes. So we'll quickly go through the para. We can finish the para. So he is still continuing. He is describing the difference between reason and the supermind. For while the reason proceeds from moment to moment of time and loses and acquires and again loses and again acquires, the gnosis dominates time in one view and perpetual power and links past, present, and future in their indivisible connections in a single continuous map of knowledge side by side. I'll give you an example and then we'll understand. So suppose I am at the foothill of I am at the foothill of the mountain. How much can I see? I can see only 10 meters this side, I can see 10 meters to the left, I can see 10 meters to the right. But if I go a little more this way, that way, I will see more. In other words, I am seeing in bits and pieces. So everybody is saying, you, moment to moment, you are seeing only bits and pieces. But now suppose I go to the mountain top, I can see 20 miles all around me. Okay. And now, when I am seeing 20 miles all around me, okay, I can see what is going to happen also in the future. That's the interesting part. So I'll give you an example and then you will immediately understand how it happens. I am seeing that there is a road coming from Pondicherry to Tiruvannamalai. I am on the hill of Tiruvannamalai and I am seeing that a road is coming from there. And in that road, there is a bus coming. Okay? A bus is coming. And I see that after 2 or 3 miles, that bus is going to get stopped. Why? Because there is a culvert, okay, which is broken. So the people in the bus don't know that in 2 or 3 miles from now, I am going to be stopped and I'll have to find a different way. But you are on the mountain top and you know the future for that bus. You know that it cannot proceed. So you see, this is the difference between mind and supermind. The supermind sees the past, the present, and also the future. Did the example I gave you help? Okay, that is the way this supermind works. It sees all. It sees the past, present, and future. But the people in the bus don't know. They are at the ground level. Reason is at the ground level. It sees only little bits and pieces here and there. So, did the example help? That's what Swinbu is saying. So that is the reason why when Swinbu is talking about India's freedom in 1920, okay, he is already seeing that India will be free. Okay, how do you know that? Because he is in a high level of consciousness, and in that high level of consciousness, you can see the future also clearly. And the higher you go, the more clear it becomes. Okay, so that's what he's saying. So the reason proceeds from moment to moment of time and loses and acquires and again loses and acquires. The gnosis dominates time in one view and perpetual power and links past, present and future. You can see the past. Oh, that bus has come from that road. I can see the past. And then I can also see the present, it is there, and I can see the future for it. Okay? So this is what Swinbu is saying. Links past, present and future in their indivisible connections. They are all actually one, but you don't see them. In the normal mind, you see only bits and pieces. Single continuous map of knowledge side by side. This is the supramental view. The gnosis is a supramental. Remember, the word gnosis means supermind, always first review. Starts from the totality which it immediately possesses. You know everything from top to bottom. It sees parts, groups and details only in relation to the totality. When I am on the sea level and I see a wave coming towards me, I don't see the other waves and I don't see the ocean. But if you are up 100 meters above, you can see the wave and you can see the ocean also. So that's the difference. Parts, groups and details only in relation to the totality and in one vision with it. The mental reason cannot really see the totality. Mind can never see the totality. It sees only bits and pieces and does not know fully any whole except by starting from an analysis and synthesis of its parts, masses and details. This is how science also proceeds. It sees something, concludes and then draws a plan and then goes on, and when other data comes, it includes that data and goes to another theory. Okay? Otherwise, its whole view is always a vague apprehension and an imperfect comprehension. A vague apprehension, a seizing of knowledge in bits and pieces, and an imperfect comprehension. The totality is imperfect. Or a confused summary of indistinct features. Sometimes we don't understand what is being said. This is the confused summary of indistinct features. The reason deals with constituents and processes. Constituents, parts. It sees only parts and processes and properties. It tries in vain to form by them an idea of the thing in itself, its reality, its essence. It tries its best, but it's always imperfect. But the gnosis sees the thing in itself first, penetrates to its original and eternal nature, and joins its processes and properties only as an expression of its nature. So in other words, if you take the example of a fruit, the supermind sees the whole fruit at once. It sees the outer skin, it sees the pulp inside, and it sees the seeds. But mind sees only either the pulp or the skin outside or the seed, but doesn't see the whole. That's the whole point. Okay? But the gnosis sees the thing in itself, penetrates to its original and eternal nature, adjoins its processes and properties only as a self-expression of its nature. The reason dwells in the diversity and is its prisoner. The reason is a prisoner of diversity. It is a subject to the many. That's what he's saying. It deals with things separately and treats each as a separate existence, as it deals with sections of time and divisions of space. It sees unity only in a sum by elimination of diversity. In other words, very clearly, he's going on giving a lot of examples, but the supermind sees the whole and the mind sees only parts. That's all. The reason deals with the finite and is helpless before the infinite. Reason impossible. The mind cannot know the infinite. It can conceive of it as an indefinite extension in which finite acts, but the infinite in itself can with difficulty, it can with difficulty conceive and cannot at all grasp or penetrate. But the gnosis is the infinite. The gnosis is sees the infinite, and the gnosis lives in the infinite. This is a very interesting small phrase, but this is his grammar. Okay? But the gnosis is the infinite, sees the infinite, lives in the infinite. You have to see it there. Okay? Yeah, I'm pointing out Srendo's language, how he uses. The gnosis is, sees, and lives in the infinite. The infinite has to be repeated for all the three verbs. The gnosis is the infinite, sees the infinite, and lives in the infinite. It always starts always from the infinite and knows finite things only in relation to the infinite and in the sense of the infinite. The gnosis, the supramental view, is always of the infinite. If it sees the finite, it is only part of the infinite. That's what Shakti is saying. Okay, I've crossed by 3 minutes, the usual time. So we stop here today.